you don't notice the first time. Or the second. You notice the third time you find yourself standing at the window with the lights off. And by then, you've already decided you're going to keep doing it. I moved into the place on Harlan Court in October. 8th floor. One of those old converted buildings where the inner courtyard is a deep stone well and every apartment looks straight across at every other apartment and nobody pretends to care. The rent was unreasonable. But the apartment had two things I'd never had before. A bay window and a clear view of Unit 814 directly across the court. On the night I moved in, I noticed Unit 814 had a couple in it. A man, maybe 40, a woman, maybe younger, hard to tell from across the court at night. They were sitting on a long grey couch in front of a big TV, and they were holding hands. Not in any showy way, just holding hands, the way two people hold hands after 20 years. I remember thinking, that's nice. And then I unpacked. The third week I lived there, I started noticing the pattern. Every night around 11, they did the same things in the same order. He came home first. He took off his coat in the doorway, hung it on a hook I couldn't quite see. He walked into the kitchen. He poured exactly 1 glass of red wine. He carried it to the couch. She came in about 10 minutes later. She didn't take off her coat at the door. She took it off at the couch beside him while she was already sitting down, like she was in a hurry to be next to him. She didn't drink wine. She drank water in a tall glass, always the same tall glass. And then they watched TV until exactly 12:15. At 12:15, every single night they got up. He took the glasses to the kitchen. She turned off the TV. He came back. They walked to the back of the apartment together and the front room went dark. 3 weeks in a row, every single night, including weekends, including the night of the big storm when half the city lost power, including the night of the storm. I started writing it down. I was watching them 6 weeks in when I noticed the first thing that was wrong. He came home at the normal time. He poured the wine, he sat on the couch. She came in 10 minutes later. She took off her coat, sat next to him, drank her glass of water. But that night, the tall water glass was a different glass. Wider, shorter, the wrong glass. You don't notice something like that unless you've been watching for 6 weeks. And nobody watches anything for 6 weeks unless something has already started going wrong with them. So I knew by then that something had started going wrong with me. But I told myself it didn't matter. I wasn't bothering them. I was just watching. The next night, the water glass was the right glass again, the tall one. And I almost felt foolish for noticing. Almost. Because that night, he didn't pour exactly 1 glass of wine. He poured 2. And she sat down and she drank the second glass. The wine, not water. In 6 weeks, I had never once seen that woman drink wine. Week 8, a Tuesday, 11 o'clock. He came home. He poured wine, 1 glass, sat on the couch. 10 minutes later, she came in, took off her coat at the couch, sat down, tall glass of water. Everything correct. At 11:43, a third person walked into the front room. I'd never seen a third person in Unit 814. Not once. Not at any time of day, in any week, in any pattern. He was tall. Older than the couple, 60 maybe. He was wearing a dark suit. No coat. Which meant he hadn't just arrived from outside, He'd already been in the apartment somewhere. In the back, the whole time. The couple did not look surprised to see him. They did not stand up. They did not greet him. The man on the couch, the husband, turned his head very slightly and looked at the tall man, and kept watching the TV, as though the tall man had been there for hours. The tall man stood behind the couch, put one hand on the wife's shoulder, and stood there for 9 minutes. I timed it. At 11:52, the tall man walked back out of the front room, and the husband poured a second glass of wine and gave it to his wife. And she drank it, just like the week before. And I realized, every single night I'd been watching them drink wine, every single night I'd noticed something wrong. There must have been a third person in the apartment that I never saw. I'm going to be honest with you. I tried to stop. I put up a curtain, a heavy one, blackout, the kind you buy when you work nights. I kept it closed for 3 days. On the 4th day, I told myself I would open it just to check the weather, just for a second. Just to make sure the curtain rod wasn't sagging on one side. You can guess what happened. By the end of week 10, I had a notebook with 112 entries. Times, drink choices, coat hooks. The 7 nights the tall man had appeared. The 4 nights I was almost certain there had been a 4th person too. Someone shorter. A woman, maybe. I never saw her clearly. I started leaving my own lights off all night. I started eating dinner standing at the window. I told a friend at work that I'd taken up bird watching. He congratulated me on the hobby. I had not slept properly in 3 weeks. On the 86th night, the wife looked at my window. She was sitting on the grey couch. Tall glass of water. 11:31. The TV was on. The husband had gone to the kitchen for something. She turned her head slowly to her left, toward the window, and she looked directly into my apartment. My lights were off. My curtain was open. There is absolutely no way she could have seen me from where she was sitting. I had checked. In the daytime, with a friend on the phone, I had stood at my window and the friend had stood across the court in a hallway with the same sightline, and the friend had told me she couldn't see a single thing inside my apartment past 2 feet from the glass. But the wife was looking, not toward my building, at my window. At the spot in my window where I was standing. She looked at me for 16 seconds. I counted because counting was the only thing I could do. Her face didn't change. She did not smile. She did not frown. She looked. Then her husband came back from the kitchen with a second glass of wine. And she turned away. And she drank it. And she didn't look at me again that night. I didn't sleep at all. The next morning there was a package outside my door. A small one, wrapped in brown paper. No address, no stamp, no name on it. Just my apartment number, written in pencil. In handwriting that I recognized immediately. Even though I had never in my life seen this person's handwriting before. I knew it was hers. Inside the brown paper was my notebook, the black one, with all 112 entries. The one I had kept beside my bed every single night for 10 weeks. I had never taken it out of my apartment. I had never showed it to anyone. My front door has 3 locks, and one of them is a deadbolt and the other 2 are a chain and a slide. All 3 had been locked when I went to bed. Inside the notebook, on the page after my last entry, she had written in the same pencil, "You should have introduced yourself. We have been watching you longer than you have been watching us." And below that, in slightly smaller letters, 8 years. I called the building manager. I told her I needed to know who lived in Unit 814. I was prepared for her to say it was against policy. She didn't say that. She paused for a long time and then said very gently, "Sir, Unit 814 has been empty for 8 years. We can't get it rented. It has a flooding problem." I asked her if she was sure. She told me the unit had been gutted. No couch, no TV, no tenants, no furniture at all. Just bare floors and exposed pipes. I asked her how long I have been living in my unit, because suddenly I needed to know. She paused even longer that time and said, "Sir, you signed the lease 8 years ago. Don't you remember?" I am still in the apartment. I'm telling you this from the bay window. The couple is in Unit 814 right now. He is on the couch with his glass of wine. She is on the couch with her tall glass of water. The TV is on. It is 11:46. In a few minutes, the tall man in the dark suit will come out of the back of the apartment. He will put his hand on her shoulder. He will stand there for 9 minutes. He will go back into the dark part of the apartment. And then the husband will pour the second glass of wine and the wife will drink it. And she will look at my window, and on her face there will be nothing at all. No anger, no interest, no invitation. Because she has been watching me for as long as I have been watching her. And we have both, for 8 years now, been doing it together. And I have only just realized that I have never once in 8 years left this apartment. If you live in a building with a courtyard, you should check tonight which window you've been looking at the longest. And then you should check which window has been looking back the longest. Because in a building like mine, the math always works out the same way on both sides. Whoever you've been watching has been watching you for exactly as long. Down to the night, down to the minute. Sleep well.